Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for waiting. We are just about ready to go here with a Mario vs. Donkey Kong run by Will the Fox. It's going to be any percent plus, and I think we're all very excited for that. So, yeah, take it away. Take it away, Will.
Three, two, one. Hello everyone, my name is Will Fox. Thank you for the introduction, Triv. I am the current any% plus and plus percent world record holder for this game. I've been running this game for a couple of years, started in lockdown, have been really passionate about optimizing the route, and yeah, I'm just really excited to show this game. So I won't be holding you here any longer. I'm just gonna start in 3, 2, 1, go. So the first thing that you'll be noticing here is that we'll be jumping a lot. That's because in this game, when you jump, the first 2 frames that you land, you actually get a little bit of a speed boost. Also, when you jump on the first frame that the stage starts, you accelerate instantly. But the thing is that we just want to land for 2 frames and not jump frame perfectly every time, which is possible because we can buffer our jump inputs. But for most of the time, we'll just be landing for 2 frames, and that's why you see me not jumping instantly when I land. But jumping is faster in general, and also bunking my head into a ceiling is faster as well. Upcoming is already a tech-heavy stage, so here I'll be trying to jump through the oil barrel by doing what we call a IFJ, an invincibility frame jump. It's a tight jump, so I might miss it, but by playing as close as possible, might be able to make it easy. That was nice. Made it back as well, and that's the big nervous point that I had for this run, that I was gonna die on 1-2 already. But we're through, and that's the first big roadblock out of the way. As you can see, this game has a lot of very cool movement. We have triple jumps, backflips, we can jump on ladders, grab and throw enemies, just all sorts of stuff. And we can also do some cool ladder tech by jumping off right off the top. Every stage consists out of 2 parts. We have a key stage part where you have to bring a key to the keyhole. The key restricts us to normal jumps, so we can't do any backflips, triple jumps, or whatever. And in the orb stage, we just have to get to the orb as fast as possible. A lot of these stages are built around getting all 3 of the presents and going for the high score, so it's a high score themed game. So you'll be seeing a lot of cycles in this game. Which we'll be trying to make as well as possible, but some of the cycles are really, really tight. By example, in that stage we just had, it looked like a really trivial stage, but there's actually 2 faster cycles you can make, but one of them is stats only. and the second one definitely isn't safe for marathons either. As you can see, these nice triple backflips back to back can get us a lot of height really quickly, so vertical stages usually aren't a big deal for us. Second thing, or just another thing we can talk about is the fact that when we're under a ceiling, we can duck unduck real rapidly to get sent 1 pixel forward each time. And we can also do this when we're not on a conveyor, which will be useful later in the game. Here we'll be doing another triple jump into grabbing the Shy Guy, and then throwing it on top, and doing a nice sequence break. You're supposed to go around, go on top of the conveyor and go around, which we used to do for a long time, until we found this faster cycle. Up going to 1-5. There's not a lot of going on here. Just want to do a nice triple jump over this Shy Guy onto the blue switch. Most of the time we want to be dropping off ladders as fast as possible. I'm doing that by pressing down and B at the same time. Here's another nice sequence of backflips in this stage, and we'll be landing on top of the Shy Guy with another IFJ backflip. So IFJ, invincibility frame jumps. As long as you have upwards momentum in this game, you can jump through most enemies. This can be fire, Shy Guys, wrenches, which is funny because one time someone accused me of cheating because I jumped through a fire projectile, but that's just the mechanic of the game. Anyways, here we'll be trying to make a cycle, but I'm afraid that I'll miss it, so I'll just set off a second cycle by missing the triple jump in the beginning. It set me up for a slightly slower cycle, but if I wouldn't have told you, you probably wouldn't have noticed. At the end here, we're also trying to jump off ledges, because it's faster than just walking off them. But I barely mistimed my jump 1 frame too early, and that's what happens. Here we don't want to jump on the first frame, because we would accelerate too fast and run into the first brick, and then we do another IFJ triple jump and an IFJ through this fire barrel. Closing into the end of World 1, we're coming into a Mini Mario stage. A Mini Mario stage, the goal is to collect 3 toy letters. You don't have to collect them in order, and then you have to get the Mini Marios into the box. For each Mini Mario that you get in the box, you get an extra life for the upcoming boss fight. For most of the boss fights, we'll be needing 1 life, but for some we'll be doing some damage boost strats, like on World 5 and World 6, by example. Very clean stage, looking at a really good pace at the moment, going into 1DK. We'll be doing a key jump. When you're on top of an item and you throw it, you have a 1/4 of a second to jump off it, and by doing that, you can actually make a really nice cycle, skip having to wait for the trash, and also we don't like the order that Donkey Kong is pushing the buttons in, so we basically just push the buttons ourselves, and get this nice 163-second time on the clock. Barely missed it. Yeah, that was bound to happen, of course. Curse of the runner. I threw it slightly too early, and it landed like 1 pixel too far to the left of Donkey Kong. But mistakes like that are bound to happen today. This is a game where we'll be dying quite oftenly, and that's fine, because this game is hard. And we're just trying to minimize the amount of deaths that we get. I made the same mistake twice, that's very funny. Boom. 157 is still fine. That's why the estimate for this run is a little bit rough. My world record is a 108, and the estimate I have is 1 hour and 30 minutes. It's just because I knew beforehand that it was going to be it's going to be tough to play at top level the whole time, while also trying to give the most interactive commentary possible. Up to World 2, into the jungle. Here we have ropes as a big new mechanic, snapjaws, rams. We'll be talking about them when we get there. But usually with ropes, we want to be climbing with 2 hands on them. If we can't, we can be doing what we call approach jumps. Here we're going to do another jump through the fire, do 3 wire swings, and jump over the top of the level instead of going all around like it would be intended. Coming up to 1-2, another cycle-based stage where we want to catch the Rem on a nice cycle. We want to make sure that he's walking to the left at the bottom. So these rhinos are called Rems. And if you time my yellow switch press right, then we should be able to make this cycle nice and easy. World 2 is a lot about the rope tech. 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. Where we can do all kinds of different jumps from these ropes, in between these ropes. It's really difficult to explain all of them, so sometimes you'll just have to appreciate how well it flows, and sometimes it's also dependent on RNG. By now, I think I explained basically all the mechanics, so I'm just going to be silent for the next hour. No, just kidding. You're just like in a state now where we know the movement, so it's just about execution and maybe some niche trick here and there. Here is a nice triple jump that you can make across, barely miss it, but the backup is quite fast, so it doesn't really matter. Only lose a little bit of time because of that. We're up to 2-4, where there's a bird. The bird poops eggs at you, but you can jump through them by doing an IFJ, of course. We can IFJ through everything in this game. Except for like twomps and stuff, so I can just jump through this egg and be fine. I'm not cheating. Then here there's another frame perfect cycle you can make, but obviously that's not realistic. I only made it like twice in my life. Instead we're just gonna go for a nice backup cycle, which I slightly overshot. But we got through anyway. Minimal time loss. Still looking at a pretty decent run. As I was saying before, making mistakes and dying is really common in this game. Even World Cricket has like a lot of pointless mistakes, and that's perfectly fine. There has been only, I think, so far 2 confirmed 0 death runs. So yeah, this game is really, really hard. Another nice cycle that we can make here by doing some tight movements, not losing 9 seconds to waiting for the elevator. And then we're coming up into another nice rope-based cycle stage, where we can get screwed over by the Snapjaws if they give us bad RNG, but we got a good RNG cycle, so we can do our rope movement as intended. RNG in this game is not really a deciding factor. There are only a couple of enemies who are affected by RNG. So the Snapjaws you just saw, 3, Walking Fire, which you will see in World 3, the next upcoming world, and I think that's basically it. That's the main thing that we have to worry about. And in World 1 that's Walking Fire as well. Anyway, this cycle that I'm about to do was supposed to be TAS only until I figured out how to do rope tech properly. So we are barely able to squeeze that 1 fire cycle there and finish up 2-6. Coming into another Mini Mario stage. Here we have to make sure that we only get 1 Mini Mario up. If we get 2 Mini Marios up, it still works, but if we get 3 up, we might run into some issues and have to retry. I was being really careful. I was being a bit too careful, to be honest. Should be fine still. Nice. We manipulated it well, so we didn't lose that much time. Good backups. It is technically possible to have 3 Mini Marios up and still survive. But you're gonna have to play perfectly for that. This is another Donkey Kong fight. We have to hit him 4 times with these fruits. I'm gonna be manipulating my cycle by grabbing that rope, so I can get what's called a left side kill, where Donkey Kong dies off the left side of the screen, which is faster because otherwise he would have to travel all the way to the right side of the screen, losing valuable time. After each world will be soft resetting. because there's a cutscene after each boss fight that we don't want to see. So that's why you see me soft resetting after each boss fight. Up to World 3, the Lava Mountain. There's a lot of stuff going on here. You suddenly have lava platforms, you have ninjas, you have Shy Guys with flamethrowers, just the wacky stuff you can expect from an early 2000s Nintendo game. There is technically a cycle you can do here by triple jumping to the ninja to the right, but it's a bit risky and definitely not marathon safe, so instead we'll be going for the slightly slower cycle here, which still looks pretty fast. Going into 3-2, where we're gonna try to make a crouch flip onto this platform, grab the key, and barely make the cycle. Very nice. I haven't really talked about crouch flips, but in this game, when you want to backflip in the same direction as you're walking, we have to do what's called a crouch flip. And a crouch flip is a we do that by ducking or crouching to animation cancel turning around, which makes every backflip like 0.4 seconds faster. So obviously we want to do that everywhere when possible. And these triple jumps are the jumps that give us the most height and distance, so that's why we'll be opting for them sometimes. Some jumps are just literally impossible to make without a triple jump. Coming up into another cycle-based stage where if we do it well, we will finish with 111 seconds on the clock. And I barely made the cycle, and we got the 111. On this stage, I will be trying to do I will be using buffer jumps to my advantage to land on this platform for a singular flame and be able to jump over these flames. We used to do a triple jump there, but it's way slower than just going for the buffered inputs, and because you can buffer your jumps, it's pretty consistent. Another cycle-based stage, World 3 is just a lot of cycles, where we're trying to finish on this bounder here, by standing with the key in like a 2 pixel precise window, I think it is. But I shouldn't have any issues. If I miss it, I die. I missed it, so I shouldn't have been talking shit about this. This should be fine. Sorry for my language. Anyway, I'll be trying to show something funny off here. You can literally jump midair at some point. Because you throw the Shy Guy into the wall there, you can actually backflip off him midair. It's a small time loss, but it's just funny, so I had to show it off. Another cycle-based stage, there's a really fast cycle that you can make here, which is almost RNG dependent, so I'm not going to be going for it. Instead, we'll be selling for second cycle, which only loses about 2 seconds. Upcoming next is a very cool stage where we'll be trying to do a mid-air triple jump from this bounder, if I time it well, so I have to focus for a second. Oh, I barely missed a jump to the rope, that's fine. That's the nerves kicking in. Still didn't die, and I got to show off the jump, so that's the main part, I guess. Going into 3-6, it's another waiting stage, so if there are any donations, it would be a great moment for that.
There are no donations right now, but I would love to take the time to talk about the prizes that you can win if you do donate. So at a minimum donation of $5, there are a bunch of Devolver Digital games that you can win here. For instance, there is a game called Terra Nil that is literally about, planting the trees and removing human influence on the environment. So if you're interested in that, if you want a chance to win, feel free to donate.
My personal favorite of the list is definitely Death's Door. I've had that game on my wish list for a long time, so if you are interested in that game, it's definitely a good way to contribute, even if it is only $5. The game itself costs like 20, so worst case scenario, you're just giving $5 to a good cause. Anyway, coming up to 3 Mini Mario, here we'll be trying to do a lag optimization by killing one of the Mini Marios. I'm sorry, but it just has to happen. We barely got it, should be fine. And by pressing this yellow switch, we kill off that one guy, which reduces lag for the entire stage. If we have all Mini Marios colliding into each other at the same time, it's just going to be a laggy mess. But by doing that, we're actually optimizing. And here we get a nice 93 finish time. And up to a very special stage. I'm going to be trying to do a pixel perfect, frame perfect trick here. If you do it well, you can reuse these barrels, which you can only use once normally. So let me try to focus. Barely miss it, just threw it like a frame too early. I can still get one re-hit, and otherwise we're left to normal hits. So that's what the re-hits looks like. That's stupid. Okay, that's really stupid. I was paying too much attention to the barrel there. Yeah, so that's what the re-hit looks like. I might throw myself. I won't throw myself at it again because it's a bit risky and I don't want to die anymore. But yeah, so that's what re-hits look like by turning at the perfect frame. You can use it twice, and you can skip like 8 seconds of this boss fight if you do it well, or die if you are me. Anyway, that's World 3. Heading on to World 4, which has a lot of different mechanics, a lot of cycles again. Like, this game is a lot of cycles because it's a high-score based game. The game is built around just barely making some of these cycles possible, which makes the speedrun really exciting as well. So the World 4 is called Spooky House, and the new enemies that you'll see here are Twimps, so baby Twumps. You have... that's a good question. You still have Boos, Shy Ghosts, and different types of Shy Ghosts, which you'll see in a minute what I mean with that. Some of these you can change into solid platforms, and others you can use for the boss fights, but they are unique to the boss fight, so it's not that we really use them anywhere else in the world. Up to 4-2, where we'll be seeing one of my favorite enemies in the game, in the orb stage at least. But here we'll be just making a nice cycle by throwing this key not onto the conveyor, so I have to hit the switch again like a dummy. Anyway, up to the orb stage, well, we'll be encountering Sir Shovelots. These are enemies that are unique to the Mario vs. Donkey Kong franchise, and you don't see them anywhere else. They push you if you're at the same level, and they push you through one-tile gaps. And they can crush you against the wall if you're not careful, or on the ground when you jump at the wrong time, but that's so rare, and it's not going to happen in this run anyway, because I know how to avoid it. But they can crush you just by standing on solid ground and jumping at the wrong time, which is funny because it happens to newer players sometimes. Anyway, another very difficult stage where I'll be trying to make a very tight triple jump across here, onto the key, dropping down, getting the blue switch, and barely able to jump back onto the elevator. And we throw the key up, hit the yellow switch, which is missable if you don't know what you're doing, because sometimes you don't get your full height from a jump when you're running into a wall. Anyway, we got through just fine. And we're up to the orb stage, where there's a nice cycle that you can make here. You can also softlock yourself here. One of the only softlocks in this game, where you can off-screen yourself by jumping against a wall while one of the Shy Ghosts is leaning against it. And normally I go for a backflip here, but the Shy Guy is in a bad position, so I'll just back it up with the triple jump, and that loses minimal time. 4-4 is another cycle-based stage. If we miss the cycle, we lose a lot of time. We can also fall down. This happens to a lot of people. But by just playing clean, being careful with Boo chasing us, we should be fine, and not jumping too early to the red platform, like I tend to do sometimes. This orb stage is one of the stage that I remember struggling on as a kid. Mario vs. Donkey Kong was one of my first childhood games. I really have fond memories of it, but I do remember getting stuck on this stage and not knowing what to do. By now, I have figured out what to do, obviously, but this is definitely not what Nintendo intended when they built this stage. Maybe they did. We will never know, I guess. Here we'll be lowering the Thwomp by going to the right, and then we can just walk underneath. We used to do a triple jump, which was incredibly difficult, and it saved no time whatsoever. By landing from a triple jump, you get a little bit of a speed boost, which made you barely able to squeeze underneath the Thwomp. But by just luring him by going to the right, it makes it way easier. Here, another stage where I'll be building a staircase with the Shy Ghosts and avoiding this Thwomp cycle. Upcoming next is one of the stages where I'll be having to focus the hardest for. I'll be doing 2 crouch flips into a handstand, which, if I do it well, I can lower the donut and triple jump through the hole. One of the hardest tricks in the game for sure. And I missed it, so let's try again. Definitely want to show this off because it's really cool. One retry is not the end of the world. And we got it on the second try. Let's go. Because of the nurse, obviously, I'm not going to be playing as well as I would when I'm doing a regular run. But second try is still very, very fine. I miss those still regular in full games. That 4-6 trick is just so difficult. In the stage, another Sir Shovelot is gonna escort us to the end. And at the end here, we're gonna jump from the ladder on top of the Sir Shovelot so it doesn't trigger. And then we can make an early cycle here, not having to wait for the other Sir Shovelot. Up to 4 Mini Mario, one of the coolest Mini Mario stages, most tech heavy. There are like 5 different strats that you can do here, and some of them are literally insane. It's almost impossible to do them if you're not a TAS. But we'll be just going for a nice manipulation with the Mini Marios here, and going for a crouch flip onto this red switch, making this Mini Mario jump straight up, or to the right if he wants to. These Mini Marios tend to not listen very well to what you're saying. Anyway, up to 40k, where we have another, where we're also gonna be hitting the switches because Donkey Kong's pattern is too slow. This saves like a couple of seconds. This was found by Iram about 2 years ago. A very cool cycle. Shout out to her for finding this. But yes, we're gonna be hitting the yellow switch, and then everything will line up perfectly for doing hits as quickly as possible. A very decent World 4, minimal mistakes, and we're up to World 5. Definitely one of the hardest worlds and the biggest run killers for any percent portion of this game. So why is this category called any percent plus? I probably should have addressed this earlier, but we have 6 normal worlds. Then we have 1 DK boss fight at the end. But when you're playing this game for the first time, you can't see that the 6 plus worlds exist yet. So after finishing the 1 DK fight, so the final DK fight, you unlock 6 more so-called plus worlds. And they are variations of what the any percent worlds look like. But the mechanics are way different because you only have 1 stage instead of 2. And you don't have a key stage and orb stage, but a key stage where you have to escort a Mini Mario to the end. So as I was talking about just a second ago, Mini Marios are really hard to manipulate, and we'll be having to do a lot of that in the +% portion of this run. upcoming into this orb stage is another very cool setup that we're gonna do to make it across this gap. This setup was found by me, and usually we just used to frame tap ourselves forwards, but by doing this setup, we can skip having to do that frame tap, which can be a bit finicky if your hands are a bit shaky. So by doing that setup, you remove having to frame tap every time. In this stage, we'll be throwing this key up and skipping the entire puzzle by doing about 8 steps, throwing it onto the conveyor and switching the directions. And upcoming is another auto-scroller part, so if there are any donations by now, this would be another great time.
There aren't any donations, no, but yeah, I can use the time to talk about the charity that we are supporting here. Let me just pull that up. So One Tree Planted is a charity focused on reforestation. They plant 1 tree for every $1 that is donated and having 95% rating on Charity Watch. So if you would like to learn more about that, you can go to onetreeplanted.org.
Thank you for the intermission, so we can make the boarding stage slightly less boring. There we do an interesting strat by falling while holding the bomb. We can clip it inside of the block, which makes it a little bit faster. Like the other cycle would be like 3 seconds slower, but clipping it into the block is very consistent because you just have to fall, and for some reason the timing lines up perfectly. And here we want to land on the ground because landing on top of the orb is slower, because when holding an item you fall slower than when you're just regularly falling. This is one of the hardest stages in the game. It shouldn't be, but I'm gonna go for like an insane cycle here. I'm gonna have to focus really well. I hope we got it, but we can barely make this key. Ooh, that was the very last frame that we could still grab it. That's insanely clutch. This is one of the hardest stages in the game. There's a lot of tech going on. My couch was supposed to talk over this so I could focus, but unluckily his schedule didn't quite line up with the marathon. But anyways, we made it. Here we're gonna do a bunch of up rope jumps. By jumping and pressing right at the peak of our jump, we can barely jump up ropes, up single ropes, and I fumbled a little bit, so that made the cycle a little bit scary. These bats don't kill you, but they make you take fall damage no matter how high you fall. Yeah, but that's that was 5-4 other way. I was pretty nervous about that one, but I'm glad that we made the cycle. And we're up to 5-5, where there's another insane cycle that you can do here by throwing that key on top of that spiked platform, doing a turnaround crouch flip, and then doing a item jump on top of the keys. But because of the key, when the key lands on top of spikes, it almost despawns instantly, so you don't have a lot of time to make the key jump there. So that's why it's definitely not full game safe. It's safe for individual world runs. It saves about 7 seconds over the normal cycle. Then we did a nice lag optimization because some of these stages are really laggy, so we want to try to avoid moving a lot of enemies at the same time. World 5 is definitely one of the worst worlds for lag. Upcoming in this stage is gonna be a cycle that I'm gonna be trying to make, but I'll see pretty quickly whether or not I'm making. I'm gonna be trying to do backflips as close to frame perfect as possible here. Getting a good ladder grab, and then barely making this scanning cycle. That's extremely tight. And landing on top of this bob-omb, which triggers it sooner than landing on top of the ground. And then we can skip this cannonball cycle, which you usually would have to wait for. clutching things up so far. We're still on a very decent pace, considering the mistakes that we made in World 1. Yeah, this is definitely still able to get world records for any percent plus. The any percent plus run isn't that optimized yet, because to be fair, I'm the only runner which really dedicated himself to lowering the time. There is another runner called Violin Gamer who was really interested in any percent plus. But he didn't really optimize the plus percent portion as much. And back then, before I started helping with optimizing the routes, the time was 1:15. Then he lowered it until a 1 hour 11 time, and now the world record is 1 hour 8 minutes and 45 seconds set by me yesterday in practice. So that's the time we're comparing against. So far we're 1 minute behind, if you're wondering, and we're coming up to another difficult stage. 5DK is notoriously known for being one of the hardest boss fights in this game, because of the cycles that we have to make. That was a nice bonk, and now I have invincibility. And by throwing that bomb, that's why we took 2 lives, we can use invincibility again to just throw the last bomb straight into his face. And that's a nice 5DK. And then we're already up into the last world of this any percent portion of the run. And then we still, of course, have the plus percent portion. World 6 is called Twilight City, for any Twilight fans out there. Just kidding. I don't know where I was gonna go with that comment. But yeah, new things are lasers. We have shy guys that throw wrenches at us. We have brick walls returning from World 1. Just all sorts of stuff. Mostly these lasers, and we also have robot monkeys, which are the same monkeys we saw before in World 5 and World 2, but just with a different texture. In this stage, I'll be doing another key jump, where I'll be jumping mid-air from this shy guy. By triggering him, we can make him on the first cycle. Oh, that was unexpected. Slide back up. I didn't expect to land on top of him. Usually you would land on the ground, jump on top of the shy guy, do another key jump, but it works. Another cycle-based stage where we're gonna be waiting for this elevator over here, triple jumping across, waiting for another cycle, triple jumping across again. That was just for RNG manipulation, trust me, even though I said there is no RNG in this game. Yeah, anyway, stuff like that can just happen. If you input right before you jump, so like if you input the right direction, the opposite direction you're facing when you're doing a triple jump, before you jump, then you just jump to that direction instead of doing a triple jump sometimes. You learn to overcome that over time, but yeah, I'll be taking a slightly safer cycle here than I would in a speedrun, but it's a marathon, so... And by holding handstand, we can kill these bricks off and safely making it across. Up to 6-3, where we'll be doing a pixel perfect setup. Luckily, we have a easy way to subpixel shuffle from right to left. And by standing like slightly over the edge, you can make it across here and make this first monkey cycle. This is patched in the European version. I didn't really talk about version differences, but the key jumps that we just did are only possible in the US version of this game. That's why that's the version we're running on. And I'm glad that that we can run on emulator, I must say, because there would be no way for me to get a US copy of this game. I mean, there probably would be a way, but running on the original console would be very notoriously difficult. So I'm really happy that the community allows for emulated runs, which just makes life way easier and practicing and stuff like that. Here we'll be doing another key jump at the end of this stage. I had to count real quick in my head. Multitasking isn't my strong suit. And then we'll be doing a coyote jump, which I didn't really talk about, but when you're throwing an item from the ground, you have a small amount of time where you can just float midair. It's kind of like a key jump, but it's like from a walking perspective and not fun standing on top of it. Here we're trying to make this cycle, which should be fine. By squeezing through that hole and ducking, unducking, as I was talking about. Gotta be pretty safe here, not gonna risk any funny threats here. And you can technically kill that Shy Guy and throw it against the orb. And that Shy Guy actually gives you bonus points when you throw it against the orb. That's the only place where it works. It doesn't work anywhere else. If you would throw any enemy into the orb at any other stage, it wouldn't work. But that Shy Guy, when you throw it into the orb, you get 100 points. Which is obviously useful for high score runners, but not really for me, since we're not really trying to getting a high score. Here I'm trying to clip this key on top of this platform, and I'm listening for an audio cue real quick to know that I'm walking to the right before I do my key jump off screen, because it's really difficult to see what's happening right there, so you really have to know what you're doing. We got a nice cycle, saving a bunch of time over the intended strat. Yep. If I do a frame perfect jump here, I might be able to not be able to trigger the Sir Shovelot, but I missed it already. And here is the spot where you can die if you jump at the wrong time, but by jumping prematurely, it's all fine. Here we're going to be doing, at the end of the stage, we'll be doing single wire jumps. When you're on the wire, you can turn around once and swing to the right, and this is faster than just walking on this wire. Last one was a bit slow, but still faster than just crawling onto that wire. Up to 6-6. Notoriously one of the hardest stages in the game, definitely the orb stage, because a trick that we discovered by, I'll be explaining it now so I can focus in a bit, by doing a jump into a wall, while a Shy Guy is coming out of it, we can clip inside of the wall, and by ducking, unducking, as we showed before, we can get 1 pixel further each and every time, and we can get through a 1-tile gap and make it to the finish. This was not known by TAS, so this is one of the optimizations that we found since the tool-assisted speedrun came out. And barely making it through. Handstanding on top of the Shy Guy, and then throwing him and jumping through. Very nice, very cool cycle. And we're coming up to 6 Mini Mario, where we'll be attempting another manipulation by backflipping here twice at the right time, hitting the yellow switch and off-screening the Mini Mario at the right time. We can, at the end of the level, kill him off by hitting the red switch here. I could have made that cycle, but that's definitely not marathon safe. By hitting the switch, we kill the Mini Mario. He then falls through the block, and because when Mini Marios die, they still have collision, he can collect the O letter that's sitting right below the laser. Which is a really cool cycle, which was supposed to be TAS only, but we figured it out how to do it RTA. I took 3 lives for safety. Normally I would always take 2, but this is one of the boss fights that can go really wrong really quickly. So having another life definitely helps. So upcoming is the +% portion of this game, where we'll be trying to manipulate these Mini Marios into getting to the keyhole as fast as possible. Here we're just hitting a bunch of switches, so it's not really that exciting. We're just trying to make a certain cycle and then damage boosting at the end to make sure that Donkey Kong dies. In the +% portion, I'll be doing a very cool trick at the very first stage, and that's what I'm talking about with you can fuck things up real easily. That was a magnificent save on my end. And we got minimal time loss from that. That could have been way worse. And upcoming is the final decay fight. So the first final decay fight, which will be using rehits on again. So we talked about rehits before on 3 decay, where we can frame perfectly, pixel perfectly, reuse barrels. Here it's slightly more forgiving. So this was already done. This is already done by a lot of people, and I'm gonna retry it because I actually want to try to get the cycle. We want to insert the key at a certain time, which manipulates the barrels into going into a very fast pattern. If we miss it, we lose about 10 to 17 seconds, depending on the RNG and the time when we put the barrel in. And this is perfect, so I got to show it off at least. The retry was definitely worth it. That definitely still saves time over having to wait for the RNG cycle. And here we'll be putting the key in at a specific time as well, which will manipulate the second barrel to go off screen, hopefully to the right, if we did it well. He went to the right, so this guy won't kill us. And then we can jump on top, do another jump up top, do another key jump, grab this barrel preferably, and go for the rehits. This first rehit is an up throw where we have a 2 pixel window, and the timing is not tight at all. For the second hit, we just have to stand roughly inside of DK, jump and throw, retrieve the barrel, and then just throwing the last time. That was final decay, and now we're up to the +% portion of this game. As said before, we'll be escorting Mini Marios to the end of the stage, and there's a really cool trick coming up immediately, so that's why I explained what +% is about. So here we'll be able to make the Mini Mario jump 4 tiles high by making him jump off this barrel and then throwing it at the right time so it jumps off it again mid-air. So that's a really cool cycle that we can make there, and I really wanted to show that off. It only saves 0.7 seconds, but it just looks so cool that it's definitely worth just showing off. So yeah, these Mini Marios have some funky mechanics, which are usually you can only use each mechanic in one single stage. So this 4-tile high jump is only used in this stage. There we can do some other funky stuff, and just all of the tricks that we do with these Mini Marios only work in a singular stage, which is very funny because there are a lot of different things that you can do with these Mini Marios. Here the Mini Mario lands on top of my barrel, so he gets jump storage. So the only way to clear it is to jump on top of his head. That's what we found. That's the fastest way to clear the jump storage. Otherwise he would not be able to instantly jump off the spring. Very niche trick, but it took a while to figure out why the Mini Mario didn't want to jump out of the spring, but by doing this jumping on top of his head, we save a little bit of time. Another very simple stage, just a couple jumps, then doing these jumps off these springs, and getting into 1-4+. So as you can see, the team is roughly the same as World 1. Only we now have to only escort the Mini Mario to the end. Here's a new cycle fight by Chrono. By triple jumping off this Mini Mario midair, we can skip having to go up that ladder and just making it really quickly. Otherwise, we would just go across with Mario, then go up the ladder and hit the red switch, which is obviously a bit of a time loss. In the beginning of 1-5+, I'll be doing 2 ladder jumps, and then we'll be trying to manipulate the Mini Mario into moving off these conveyors as possible. By doing a buffer jump input, we can jump in against the direction of the conveyor, which makes us able to get a really nice cycle, and I think that was a gold for me, so that was very clean. I do have my own splits to the side, so I roughly know my pace and how well I'm playing, so that was a gold for me, that stage. Here there is a faster cycle that you can make, but it's incredibly difficult and definitely not marathon safe. I only do it for +% runs, never for any %+ runs. So +% is also a category for this game where you just have to clear the 6+ worlds as fast as possible. We also have 100%, which I was planning on running, but sadly enough in October my laptop crashed and it took me a while to get back into the motivation. And then a lot of new players came in and they were threatening to take my world record, so I had to grind. And I took down my world record by like 40 seconds since then. So I've been really focusing on any percent and any percent plus, and not so much on learning 100% yet. On this stage, you can technically do rehits from the bottom, where you throw the barrel straight up, but these rehits are frame perfect again, so definitely not worth going for. There's only one person who successfully done it in a run, and it's a World 1 individual world run. So yeah, it's definitely even. It was found by the high scored players. The high score community used to be really active for this game. And there's one player called Chrononess who is still left in the speedrunning scene and who helped us immensely writing this game. Stuff like 6-6 Orb was found by the high score community, and thanks to Chrono we have access to these strats because he remembers them from doing them earlier. Oh, that was... I forgot that you can't go for that cycle if you're not going for the fast cycle in the beginning. Oopsie doopsie. Well, that's a nice 20-second time loss, I guess. Yep. So we won't be doing that again. Instead, we'll just be making this nice cycle. I just have... My standard has been so high that I've been always making that specific cycle. Yeah, so I was a bit thrown off there. I guess I haven't practiced quite enough to restrain from my muscle memory, because one of the hardest grinded worlds for individual world runs is actually World 2+ for some reason, because I had a really big competition with Chrononess, and we lowered this time where it's optimized up until like half a second of movement. So yeah, you can imagine that my muscle memory from that still transfers to what I'm doing in World 2+ today. And sometimes it just pops up randomly. Here we'll be clipping this barrel into the block so the Mini Mario has a smooth jump transition, which cancels a little bit of the animation and makes it a bit faster. Up to 2-4+. Which is another rope tech stage. I'll be doing a jump jump, a roll jump, and a different type rope drop, which nobody knows what it means, but it works, trust me. I just like using some magic words to pretend that I know what I'm doing. And 2-5, this cycle used to be a lot of waiting until I figured out that you can just triple jump over this wall. That doesn't work though. There's a cycle that you have to make, so I really had to reset there, sadly enough. Oh, come on, man. Okay, it should still be fine. As long as I don't fall down here, I still should be able to make this cycle, yep, easily. And by landing and holding neutral at the end here, the Mini Mario will jump straight up. There's some really weird ways to manipulate Mini Mario's jumping off springs. You can make him jump in the same direction, in a different direction, or straight up. Here I want to try to make him jump to the left, so we can make a nice cycle here. This should work. Nice, and we met perfectly in the middle. That's a beautiful 2-6. In 2DK+, I'll be trying to go for a rope strat by going for the second fruit instead of going for the first fruit. We can save a little bit of time. Also, this is something that remains from the World 2+ IW practice. It's a cycle I found a while ago, and it saves like 0.6 seconds or something, but it just looks cooler than having to wait for DK to get to the second fruit. There's another soft reset up to World 3 plus. Here we want to stall the Mini Mario right before the spring by jumping and barely hit the yellow switch before he dies. I let go of right for like a split second there, which made the cycle really scary. But by jumping, we are able to stall the Mini Mario in some spots. This is the most important application of this. But that's why sometimes you see me jumping at maybe what looks like a weird moment, and why you also sometimes see me not jump, even though I just told you that jumping is faster. Not jumping is faster because then the Mini Mario just keeps following you. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? Ooh, okay. Mini Mario just decided that he didn't want to walk off that platform, which nearly killed him, but we made it through. I was about to lose my mind there. As I was saying before, these Mini Marios don't really like to listen to you a lot of the times. Here's another cycle-based stage. Cycle, cycle, cycles. This entire game is one big cycle. By triple jumping at the right time here, the Mini Mario barely doesn't die. And then by triple jumping at the right time here again, he can make it across. You wait out one cycle, and then you make it across again. Very good stuff. Very clean. Very easy. 2-4 is another funky stage. It's pretty. We have to wait until a certain time because we want to drop down, because Mini Mario only jumps down when you're below him. So by waiting it out here, I can go to the left, not die to this flamethrower, make the Mini Mario jump down, and by staying on top here and jumping, the Mini Mario stalls to the left so we can meet each other at the middle again. Otherwise he would come farther to the right and I'd have to walk ahead of the key, ahead of the keyhole to meet him again. So by jumping on the top off screen the Mini Mario, we can meet perfectly in the middle. Here is one of the stages where you have to be really careful not to gather all three of the presents. So I'll try to not do that perfectly. If you grab all three of the presents, it triggers a bonus minigame, which is really slow. And the only way to really avoid having to do this is by soft resetting after finishing a stage. So you lose about a second when you have to soft reset to skip the minigame. Another cycle-based stage, as expected. We have to wait for these lava, these Podoboos, I would say. Throwing the Shy Guy here. Doing 3 up rope jumps here, jumping to the red switch and making it to the end nicely. These up rope jumps are something that we considered to be tasks only for a long time until we figured out how to do them consistently, and now we just use them all over the place. Upcoming is one of the worst boss fights in this game, so if I die here, I blame Chrononess. So I kind of have to focus. Fuck. Okay. That's Chrono's fault. Next death is on me. This is fucking ass. Oh, sorry. I shouldn't have said that. I said nothing. Nobody heard anything. I hate this stage. This is better. This is the cycle I'm used to getting. I was just 1 pixel off to the side or something, which made the barrel way harder to hit. Can I please hit this barrel? Okay. That was the worst part. Now it should be smooth sailing. These last 2 hits are slightly easier. And by the way, if I get hit by a barrel, I don't die here, but it's gonna change the cycle in such a way that it's almost impossible for me. It's almost gonna be impossible for me to still finish the stage properly. I just poured a whole glass of water over my desk. That's always very fun. I hope I didn't hit any essentials. Yeah, that's just happened. I guess I'm not drinking any more water for the rest of the run, because my glass is entirely empty. I only hit my printer, I think. Oh wait. How do I trigger this guy from here? Oh, fuck. Okay. This is bad. Yeah, sorry. So no more silly mistakes from now on. Oh, so funny. Yeah, okay. Let's hope that I don't push over any more glasses of water, because clearly that made me unfocus on this game, and that's something you really don't want to do. I think the damage should be fine. Eesh. Yeah, I don't think I hit anything major here. Anyway, back to the run. Here we're trying to manipulate Mini Mario a little bit by making him go across that red switch, red block, and then hitting the red switch, and meeting him in the middle again. So that was a little bit of a hiccup there. That's why the estimate is so rough, because I knew that I was gonna make big mistakes like that eventually. Another cycle-based stage. I'm gonna be taking the second cycle here because I already made a small mistake at the beginning. This looks good, and that's like a second cycle for you. So now we're in World 4 Plus. A lot of the same things that you saw in World 4. In this stage, we used to have a cycle where we made the Mini Mario go up top, but then we realized that that was unnecessary, and we can just triple jump over the top here and make the Mini Mario go down instead of making him jump up that spike that would spawn if we would go over the top, which is a bit faster. For the Shive, we're going to be attempting to do a very nice sequence break by pressing the red switch at the perfect time. The Mini Mario can jump straight onto the spring, but it's really rare, and I think it's frame perfect. But we'll see. Nope, he didn't. And we can, basically, if it does that, we can skip a twimp cycle. Like this, we might not even be making the second one. It's just barely fine. By crouch flipping over that twimp, we're also saving a little bit of time. But that frame perfect trick is so rare to hit. I've hit it like 4 times in my career, I think, outside of practice. So yeah, you can throw yourself at it. Doesn't lose anything if you miss it. So it's fine. Here we want to make sure that we hit the blue switch at the right time and not too late. Yesterday I had a big mistake here where I pressed the blue switch like a frame too late, and the Mini Mario died right before I was able to hit the blue switch. So this was pretty clean. Going to 40k plus. There are some mechanics going on here. So first you want to throw this red Shy Guy and hold left. For the second throw, I want to press B to grab the Shy Guy. So yeah, that threw off my cycle, and if I'm not going to be on cycle, it's going to look really choppy, and that's just not a pleasant watching experience. So here I want to stand as far left on the spike as possible, throw while not holding left. This is something scary that never happened to me before, and I'm going to try to react to whatever is happening now. I'm not sure what happened there. What? Okay. This is a bit funky. Okay. That was another big hiccup. I don't think I've struggled on this boss fight quite as much, but I really don't know what happened there. I've never had that happen before, after all of my hours of running. But well, we made it work somehow. Another stage where we want to trick the Shy Guy we have here to start moving as late as possible, so we can barely keep him on the right side. This is another nice sequence break that we got from the 100% community, or the high score community, I must say. The thing I did there, the crouch flip into triple jump, is a setup that I use that makes the triple jump really consistent. Otherwise, you would have to guess where you are off screen. Here's another stage where we'll be trying to manipulate the Mini Mario into jumping off the left side of the spring, which makes us able to make a faster cycle. He jumps straight up, but that's fine. We'll just have to wait one single cycle then. If he jumps to the left, we can make this earlier fire cycle, but if he jumps straight up, it's literally impossible. Fighters 3 is another really interesting cycle. The story behind this stage is also very cool. At some point I was practicing 100%, so I did practice it, I just never ran it, and I missed this jump. I was practicing 100%, and I noticed that my high score wasn't anywhere close to what the high score community was getting. Like, the first place was also like 5 seconds ahead of the second place. So I was like, I sent a message to Chrono, my 100%, my high score buddy, and he said, like, let me try to figure something out. And by blowing up these blocks at the top first, you can get 2 bombs into play, which reduces the wait time just enough, so you can literally save like 3 to 4 to 5 seconds if you're doing it really cleanly. But we're playing it slightly safe, so we're only saving like 3 to 4 seconds with it. But still a very nice cycle. "5-4 is another stage notoriously known for being like pretty troll, because the Mini Mario can just jump off whenever he wants to. So we have to manipulate that by waiting with going until we can walk immediately. Oh, that's not good. And then I missed my own jump, so curse of the marathon, I guess. But if we would go immediately, the Mini Mario has a small chance of jumping down, which would kill him to the cannonballs, but he still did that because I jumped down, which was my own mistake, to be fair. Now we should be jumping across, straight up, or to the left, and then we have to wait one more cycle, and finishing up this stage. A little bit of time loss on this stage. It's bound to happen in a marathon, to be fair. We're still way under estimate, though. We're looking at around a 112 finish at the moment. Here we want to make the Mini Mario jump run against the conveyor, move to the left, trigger the Shy Guy, get back up top, make the Mini Mario jump across, and then finish the stage, hopefully. Here's another stage where we'll be using these single wire swings. By triple jumping on top of this Mini Mario, we can barely make it to here. Then we want to crawl a little bit so the Mini Mario goes into the middle to avoid the cannonballs. Then press A too soon and die. And then we have to do all of that again. And by doing 3 wire jumps, you can skip a full cannonball cycle, which saves about 5 seconds. Nice. A little bit of a hiccup again, but that's fine. As I said, this game is very heavy on deaths. And we're going into 5DK, probably one of the slightly easier than regular 5DK, but this triple jump at the beginning into jumping on top of the pop bump is pretty difficult. So let me see if I get it, and then everything should be fine. Here we're trying to lose as many lives as possible. This is bad. Retrying again. I missed my jump on up to the conveyor. And yeah, that just changes the entire cycle again. And as mentioned before, you really don't want that to happen because if the cycles change, then it's really difficult to recover on some of these boss fight stages. And we're losing as many lives as possible because every life that we end up with, it just takes a little bit of time to take them down. Not the worst mistake in the world. Up to World 6 Plus, where in the first stage we'll be trying to do a backflip at the very beginning, which makes us able to get a very early laser cycle. Boom. And then we'll be giving the Mini Mario jump storage on purpose this time. If he lands on top of the spring from a barrel, he can jump 5 blocks high instead of 4 from a spring, which looks incredibly stupid, but it works, and we can just skip the entire stage by doing that. It doesn't work if he wouldn't jump from the barrel. That's one of the tricks I was talking about. It only works in a singular stage. 1, 2, 3, 4. And here we have another cycle we have to make. Or we just play it very safe, we triple jump across, and then we don't have to worry about the cycle. Which I think is the better option since, according to the mistakes that I've already made in this run. Right, 6-3 is coming up. This is another cycle-based stage where you have to manipulate these robots and having to wait at the perfect time so Mini Mario doesn't die to them. And then boom, and that's the end of the stage. Almost nearing the end of this run. Not a lot of tricks left to explain. 6-6 Plus is a really cool stage. This upcoming stage is a stage that you can easily die on because of the laser cycles and because of the item jumps from Shy Guys and because of me jumping straight into a laser because I want to be too fast, which always helps to get the fastest time. Okay, that's slightly better. Only slightly better than dying to the laser. Here you want to throw the Shy Guy down, jump across, hopefully, and be just in time so he walks down. Hit the red switch, and I'm not even going to bother item jumping off this guy. Just going to chill on top of him, and jump to the right, jump to the left, because I've been making way too many silly mistakes, and stuff like this just keeps piling up. But technically, you can item jump from the Shy Guy again, and save like a minute, like a whole minute of waiting time for sure. Here we want to do another buffer jump to jump in against the direction of the conveyor. Then we want to throw this bomb straight into this corner, triple jump up, hit the red switch, and that's the end of the stage. Then one more stage, and then we're almost looking at time. So we're looking at a pretty decent timing coming. So 6-6 plus, and then we still have the final DK fight, which will be pretty short. I'm already warning in advance. Here we'll be tricking the Mini Mario into jumping up by standing on top of this barrel. He thinks that that's a solid object, so he can just jump midair. Then I miss this very missable jump, but it only loses minimal time. You can technically jump midair, throw the barrel, and still grab that rope, but it's really precise and it's really missable, and only loses minimal time when you miss it. Anyway, now normally you would think that there's another boss fight because we've been doing a lot of boss fights at the end of each world, but Yoshi found a skip that by pressing R here you can just go to the final boss. You can do it after finishing 6-6. You can just go to the final boss for some reason. It was patched out of later versions. Time is coming up when I hit the final barrel on Donkey Kong. But we'll be doing another re-hit pattern by landing on a very specific pixel. We can start doing re-hits, and we can just use the same barrel over and over again. And there's 2 more hits, 1 more hit, and that's time. GG. Yeah, that was Mario vs. Donkey Kong Any% Plus. I want to thank anyone in the community who helped me stay active. Payman Runner for motivating me to keep playing. Franphil, Xrox, Chrono, Violin, Starlight Sims, just everyone in the community. If I'm forgetting some names, it's not Jojo for sure. I definitely can't forget about her. Yeah, this is a really nice small community, and we really help each other all day. Shout out to Alien, who sadly enough couldn't make it here to do the commentary for this run. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, I guess.
All right, thank you so much for that amazing showcase of Mario vs. Donkey Kong. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
And yeah, this is also going to be the end of my host shift. I'm going to be handing it over to Sinead here in a bit. But yeah, before I leave, let me just remind you to donate to our cause by typing !donate in the chat and selecting your chosen incentive. There are a lot of them for the rest of the marathon. So you have